Judge, thank you very much for your testimony. I think specifically your testimony about your preparation and the work you've been doing, I think it's very instructive to folks to hear those stories. You mentioned that your emergency management coordinator, last name I caught was Constantine. What was the first name?
Shane Stolarczyk, Kendall County. Brady Constantine.
And is Brady Constantine here?
Yes, sir, and he did fill out a form in case you'd like to hear from him.
Okay, great. I would. Because there's something that's sticking in my mind here, and we're talking about, warnings versus watches versus emergencies, and we know that warnings start sometime on the 3rd, carry forward, and escalate up. What actions are taken, those are, and to the sheriff's point, those are things that you're doing as the situation unfolds. But there's two very different things that I heard. One, that I think in the sheriff's written testimony that he went to bed on the 3rd and didn't have anything to worry him as he went to bed that night. And you said that Brady Constantine's reaction in your testimony was he had an uneasy feeling that night. I'm not saying either one is right or wrong, so I'm not here to criticize. What I'm saying is all the same data was available to both those people, and you have two very different reactions. And again, this is not for me to say right, wrong, because there may be a reason why you get a number of warnings, and because of your experience, you go, okay, well, that's this or that's this, and maybe it was, things
There
move
is
a lot.
there is a reason, sir.
Okay.
Would you like me to call him up right now?
Well, if we get to his testimony later, I'm happy to hear it. I do want to dig into that because it may be that those warning systems and how they ratchet up isn't effective for you all to be able to do what you need to do in a uniform fashion. And what's happening in Kendall County versus Kerr County, I know you all are nearby, but could be different issues.
In a nutshell, I believe it's based on Brady's interactions with our TDM representatives, and the conversations they had personally with him is what triggered his uneasiness. And plus, we also had a huge parade the next day in Comfort, which draws people from all over the state. And so I think the combination of those two things added to Brady's feelings that day.
Okay, that's good. And when Mr. Constantine testifies, I'd like to hear more about that at that time. That would be very enlightening for us, because those types of communications we heard from TDM last week about those conversations, and I think we need to figure out how we can be, this is for all of us to look at what we can do better and how we can react better. And if the systems aren't set up to give us a uniform reaction when even catastrophic things are happening, then we need to look at those too. This is the opportunity for us to unpack those. Just because we've done something the same way for years doesn't mean we don't look at it again now. You also mentioned in your testimony that you wanted to simplify grant applications. You highlighted engineering studies that have to be provided as some of those grant applications. Can you highlight which grants you're talking about?
I also have my county engineer here, because I believe there was one application we went out for. We had to actually do an engineering study as part of the application process, and that costs funds. I don't recall the name of it, but it's things like that could be cost prohibitive for certain counties, because you're spending that money
Correct.
With no guarantee that you're going to receive the funding at the backside.
And your county engineer's name?
Mary Ellen Schuley. She also filled out a card, so
we'll hear from her later.
yeah, if you'd like them in the 3-minute comments, they can come up. I don't know what the process is for them.
I do want to hear that, because part of the task that we've been given is to get rid of the red tape.
Okay.
It is not a system that anybody wants. When you are trying to figure out how to mitigate harm or how to recover from a disaster, if we are asking people to check boxes that are not necessary, that is the epitome of bureaucratic nonsense. And you highlighted it here. I'd like to drill down into, and I've talked to the Texas Water Development Board as well already at the last hearing, to identify these things when we're talking. Now, I'm not saying that you still got to check. You're spending money, right? You want to make sure that we're not doing that in a wasteful manner. But if we're talking about emergency preparedness and recovery from disasters, I want to know where the red tape is, because we need to figure out how to get rid of it so that you can do the job that you need to do, so the judges can do that, so the sheriff can do that, so that we can get the funding to people. We have great capacity in the state of Texas, great capacity. But if we tie it up with timelines and useless checkboxes, then we are depriving the people that we represent from solutions that they know could help and could save lives.
Agreed, and it's just not at the state level, it's at the federal level as well, because we went out for grant applications for wildfire protection, and we're like the 26th county in all of Texas to have a wildfire protection plan. We went out for a grant. It was given great remarks by the federal government. We were excluded because we were too wealthy of a county, so they put financial parameters on health and safety. Even though we were well deserving of it based on our needs and our wildfire dangers, we were denied based on so you're not alone in having those issues. So.
And Judge, I agree with you, and we talked about this at the last hearing. I get why that's something they look at, I think, median household income, and that's how they, with the grant application, it was 5%. Right, they did dump it into a formula, and that's the way we divide it up. There is a great philosophical reason for doing that, right? Communities that can't afford it, you want to triage that and put them front of line. I don't disagree with that. That's something that makes sense. But this is also an opportunity for us to look at. I mean, disaster is going to hit people that no matter what their median household income is. So what can we do to unlock the potential of the state? And if there are messages we can send to the feds, we need to do that as well. And so if you can help us identify, or any other witnesses that are listening, help us identify those barriers when you're talking about mitigation and emergency recovery, let us know what those are. And we are talking to these agencies because we need to get that stuff out of the way. That's part of the task that we have here. You shouldn't be put in a decision, you shouldn't be put in the position to make those decisions when you're talking about saving lives as you're setting budgets. I think we need to figure out how we unlock the potential of the state. And if we can highlight those concerns to the feds, we're going to do that too. But we certainly can control what we do at the state level, and some of that is money that flows down from the feds as well.
And we're a very blessed community, and so we didn't take that, we didn't just stop there, we didn't get it. We actually found a way to fund it internally and start a 501c3, and the county funded that 501c3 with the funds to carry out our plan. So where there's a will, there's a way, but it'd be so much nicer to not have that red tape. So I appreciate your comments and your support on this matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.